Hello, Steve Arts 89. I was just watching a video from John Campier about the rise of piracy. Basically, piracy is back. It was declining with TV and movies. It had gotten down to, I think, like 100 billion streams or something, downloads. Not streams, that's the problem. No, actually, it's streaming as well. Now, people aren't just downloading pirated content, they're actually streaming it as well. So that has was increased to 200 billion downloads or streams, which of course is an increase in recent years. And why is this happening? Well, because streaming has become unaffordable and unmanageable. Because when they sold us the idea of streaming a few years ago, it was a simple industry. It was basically just Netflix, and the idea that people would have access to all their favourite shows on one streaming service instead of having to pay for 10 cable channels and buy expensive DVDs that took up room on the shelves. People were like, yes, I will rent that library in the sky that I always have access to. That's perfect. But then things changed. People realized that there was no library in the sky. They were just content leased temporarily and stored on servers that cost money to maintain. So we started to quickly see the shows that people signed up for disappearing because the license ran out, or they didn't get enough views to warrant paying to keep it on the server. And then, all the companies started pulling their content from Netflix and setting up their own companies. And now all of a sudden people are having to pay like 10 different services to access their favourite shows, just like cable. And yeah, they sort of dragged that out long enough. They rolled that out slow enough that they killed cinema and they killed TV and they killed cable, and people are just left with streaming. But now streaming has become too expensive and too unmanageable. All the services have just popped up, and all the services have gone up in prices, because at least when they started, like, it's really cheap, just come with us, you can see our content here. And now it's like, now we've got you, we're going to double the price, and you have to pay. We're going to add ads in the basics, and then you've got to pay to get rid of the ads, and then you're paying like a premium. And people just stopped and they started pirating again. And that's sort of what happens when you make things hard and there's a cheaper, easier option. People will choose that. Like, I think for the most part, people are good and they want to pay for content and do things the right way and legally download. There's always going to be some people that won't, but for the most part, that's what they found with the music industry. Once iTunes made buying music and downloading music affordable and easily accessible and sort of one-stop sort of place, kind of like Netflix was, people stopped downloading music in the numbers they were before. It didn't totally stop, but most people were happy to just buy it affordably on iTunes, or then start streaming on something like Spotify. And people will pay for something like that rather than the hassle of going to find stuff, on the high seas and that. So they started to have things sorted, but then the streamers got greedy. Like I said, they started to, pop up everywhere, and every studio now has their own service, and they all charge, and they're all charging a lot more than they did when they started. So it's just a mess now, and I'm not sure how it's going to go long term, because if you make things too hard to find and too expensive, and there's also the issue of ownership, because once upon a time when you bought a DVD, you owned it as in your own copy to watch whenever you wanted to, and when you downloaded something it was sort of the same. But now a lot of places don't let you download, or if they do, there's limitations, and there's even talk now that certain players will be that you have to be online to use, and they'll monitor what you're watching. So if the license has ended with something that you've already bought, you can't watch that download again, because they say you're not allowed to. So there are things like that are now also affecting those issues. So I'm okay. I have a DVD library, and there's going to be plenty of DVD players that I can buy in the near future. That won't need the internet to work, so I can watch my DVDs. So I should be okay for a while. Everything I really love, I've got a physical copy of, or a download from that era, and it's just a matter of finding, keeping the old computers up so you can watch them. But I mean, how long is that going to last? So how long is it going to be until we're all slaves to owning some sort of service and paying for the nose? But a lot of people aren't doing that. They're just going to pirate. I don't. So I don't know if I ever will. I don't know if it'll get that bad, because a lot of the new content I don't care about. So I'll wait till it comes out on DVD. I'll watch it. I'll borrow it from the library and watch it there if I'm not really sure if it's worth owning, and then if it is, I'll buy it. Kind of like with rentals. I forgot about the rental market. Once upon a time, you had rentals, so you didn't have to buy all the movies. You could just rent them, and then the ones you really like, that you really wanted to keep and have your own copy of, you could put in your library and buy a copy. Yeah, so it's just a big mess. I just want to talk about it for a minute because I understand why people are going to the high seas, and I think if the studios lose money through this, and the gouging hurts the overall success of the business, they will pull it back a bit and maybe sort of make it manageable. But that's a big if. So until then, who knows what's going to happen? But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Maybe ding the bell, look at the channel, look at other videos on there, because you're not going to see them on your YouTube. What is it? I kept wanting to say page or channel. Your not your stream, your wall, whatever. But yeah, they don't really support independent, small content creators. So the chance of my videos popping up on your stream is pretty unlikely. So go to the channel for stuff like this. But that's another thing. YouTube is being affected as well by things like this. Everything is being affected, and a lot of it is just greed. And some of it is growing pains as we adjust to sort of a different era. But yeah, it's just really messy, and who knows where it's going to go. It might sort itself out, and we may end up with a model that works for everyone, where the studios make money and we have access to stuff. But they may just keep gouging until they totally destroy their own industry, and then we've got nothing. Who knows? We'll see.